and I'll be, that's not unusual. Remains within the sound.
Imagine two brilliant artists who, despite hating each other, managed to create a musical masterpiece together, reaching the top of the charts in the United States. This is the story of a creative paradox, an intense rivalry that gave life to one of the most iconic songs ever heard. Every note and lyric of this song carries the weight of their conflicts, but also the genius of their forced collaboration. As they struggled with their personal differences, their music deeply touched the hearts of millions, showing how even the most tumultuous relationships can result in transcendent art. This story is not just about music. It's about how adversity can be transformed into something beautiful, and how sometimes tension and conflict can push us to exceed our limits. Get ready to discover how two rivals use their disagreement to shape a lasting legacy, proving that even in moments of great discord, we can achieve the extraordinary. Two very special friends named Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. They met in school in New York when they were very little, almost your age. Soon, they discovered that they loved singing and making music together. Imagine, they began singing together after doing a school play, where Paul was the white rabbit and Art was the cat. They liked it so much they decided to form a duo. They started their musical adventure with a funny name, Tony and Jerry, and even managed to get one of their songs heard by many people. But, like in everyone's life, not everything was easy. They also had difficult times, like disagreements and problems deciding what to do with their music. Despite these fights, Paul and Art made very beautiful songs together in the 60s, a time when many people liked the kind of music they made, called folk rock. They became very famous with songs like The Sound of Silence and Mrs. Robinson. These songs are like stories that tell what they felt and thought. Paul, since he was little, was influenced by his father, who was a conductor, so he learned to love music very early. Art also loved music from a young age, and it all started when his father gave him an old tape recorder. They grew up, and even going to college to study other things, they did not stop making music. For a while, Paul even went to England to sing alone, but the duo was very special. When one of their old songs, The Sound of Silence, began to be successful again, they reunited and returned to sing together. They made more songs and even won awards. So, even though they sometimes fought, Paul and Art always came back to make music because they shared something very special, a passion for music and friendship for each other. And this story shows us how friendship and love for music can create wonderful things, even when there are difficult moments. The song Red Bee, released by the famous duo Simon and Garfunkel, was just one of their many hits. They also released other songs like the 59th Street Bridge song, which became well known even without being on an album. They performed in many places, especially at universities, where everyone loved to hear them. They weren't like typical rock stars. Some people even thought they were a bit eccentric, but that didn't bother them. They appeared on famous TV shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and The Mike Douglas Show because their manager, Mart Lewis, only let them appear if they could choose what to sing. In 1967, they released a fun song called At the Zoo, which Paul Simon wrote to honor New York City, where they lived. But even being famous, sometimes it was difficult for them to create new songs. Paul Simon had a period when he couldn't write new songs, which made the people at their record label, Columbia Records, very worried. The president of the record label, Clive Davis, even hired a producer named John Simon, who was not related to Paul, to help, but Paul didn't like the idea very much. Besides making music, they also worked on films. A movie director named Mike Nichols loved their songs and asked to use some in his movie The Graduate. Paul and Art wrote 3 songs for the movie, but 2 of them were rejected. In the end, they ended up offering a song that wasn't even complete, which later became known as Mrs. Robinson. This song and the movie were a huge success. However, even with all the success, Simon and Garfunkel began to have problems in their relationship. They were even invited to a movie called Catch 22, but just before filming started, Simon's role was cut, which made things even more tense between them. They still tried to work together on their last studio album, but it was very difficult, and they ended up separating. The album Bridge Over Troubled Water was a huge success and included famous songs like The Boxer and The Only Living Boy in New York. Even after the separation, the two continued to make music on their own, but also faced challenges in their personal lives. Simon got married and divorced, and then married again. Garfunkel also had problems in his marriage and faced tough times after a significant loss. Despite all the difficulties, they continued to make music and touch the hearts of many people. The story of Simon and Garfunkel shows us how friendship and music can be powerful, even when facing challenges. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel formed one of the most emblematic musical duos, known for their soft harmonies and impactful lyrics. Throughout their careers, they experienced highs and lows, including memorable successes and significant personal challenges. Paul Simon, from a young age, dealt with issues of depression and low self-esteem, despite his fame and apparent success. He spoke openly about how the pressures and expectations can be overwhelming, even for someone with his talent and success. Despite the tensions between them, Simon and Garfunkel reunited several times after their initial separation. One of these occasions was in 1972 for a benefit concert. They also tried to collaborate again in 1975, releasing the song My Little Town. Although their solo careers had their challenges, they reunited in 1981 for a historic concert in Central Park, which attracted more than 500,000 people and briefly revitalized their careers. In the 1980s, Simon explored new musical directions. His album Graceland from 1986, recorded with musicians from South Africa, was controversial but acclaimed, earning him more Grammy Awards. He defended his decision to work with black musicians in South Africa despite the cultural boycott against the apartheid regime, stating that his project was a collaboration that transcended racial and political barriers. Until the 2000s, the relationship between Simon and Garfunkel continued to be complicated, with occasional reunions and tour successes, followed by new estrangements due to tensions and disagreements. Garfunkel faced vocal health issues that impacted these reunions, while Simon announced his retirement from touring in 2018. The story of Simon and Garfunkel illustrates not only the challenges of fame and artistic creativity, but also the complexity of human relationships. Their songs continue to resonate with audiences of all ages, demonstrating the enduring power of their art. We have reached the end of our musical journey with Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. I hope you enjoyed learning about the story of these two friends who, despite their ups and downs, made incredible music that many people still love to hear. Remember to keep an eye out, because the stories and songs of Paul and Art are full of surprises and lessons, even for the youngest like you. They show that even when things seem difficult between friends, something good and beautiful can come out of that friendship. So, keep listening, singing, and dancing to their music, and see you next time. Goodbye.